She was designed in silence, trained in darkness, beaten until obedience was all she knew. Her blue skin bore the marks of experiments, her heart wired to kill without question. But then a human prisoner didn't fight her, he spoke to her. Listened. And when he touched her hand, gently, something inside her broke. Not her programming, her loneliness. Now for the first time she has a choice. And the ones who made her into a weapon are about to find out. She was never just theirs to control. She had no name when they carved the first command node into her spine, only a designation etched into steel. Subject KX-17. Her skin, a pale luminous blue, shimmered even beneath blood and oil. She was their creation, perfect in form, lethal in training, silent in suffering. Her long white hair, once flowing freely, was always pulled tight, tied by handlers who never saw her as more than a weapon. She learned fast, how to break bones, sever arteries, silence breathing. They never spoke to her gently. They never touched her without gloves or fear. If she hesitated, they shocked her. If she resisted, they bled her. But her body adapted, and her mind, once curious, once soft, folded in on itself like a trapdoor closing forever. Until him. He came to the facility bound and broken, a captured human soldier, dragged in chains and half dead. She was ordered to test her programming on him. Alone in a concrete room, they left her with a blade and a directive, eliminate. But he didn't plead. He didn't spit or scream. He looked up at her from the floor, bloody, coughing, and said only 3 words, "Do you hurt?" Her fingers trembled, an error. The blade slipped. Her mind surged with warnings, kill, kill, kill. But her hand didn't move. The man, dazed but aware, saw it, and instead of fear, his eyes filled with something that stunned her, pity. The next day, they punished her. They didn't ask why she failed. They didn't care. They used shock prods and isolation. But pain was familiar. What haunted her was the memory of that voice. His voice. Soft. Curious. Human. Days passed. Then weeks. They brought her to him again, this time with new parameters. Observe. Study his speech patterns. Manipulate him. Extract intel. She stood in the corner while he spoke, his voice hoarse, his words half sarcastic, half wounded. But he still spoke to her like she mattered. Like she wasn't just another monster in a lab. He asked her name, she didn't answer. He gave her one anyway. Kira. He said it meant light, something she didn't understand. Not then. The more time she spent with him, the more her directives began to stutter. Her movements grew less precise, her silences longer. She began asking questions, small ones, whispered when no one watched. What is sky? What is music? Why do you smile when you're hurt? He answered all of them, with patience, with kindness. And then one day, when she stared at her own reflection in the steel wall and whispered, "Why am I alive?" He didn't answer. He stood, even with chains on his wrists, and put a hand on her shoulder. No gloves. No commands. Just warmth. Real and terrifying. She didn't flinch. She closed her eyes. That night, her handlers found the change. Her combat logs showed hesitation. Her heart rate patterns, unexplainable irregularities. They dragged her to the lower floors, the punishment sector. She didn't scream when they cut into her spine again. She didn't cry when they forced a new chip into her neck. But in her mind, between the waves of pain, she saw his face. The only one who never looked at her like property. The next time she saw him, he had new bruises, gifts from interrogators. But he smiled when he saw her. She didn't smile back, her face was unreadable. But her hands made to kill, touched his face with a softness that wasn't programmed. The next day, she broke a camera. On purpose. They beat her again. Threatened to dismantle her completely. She said nothing. But inside her chest, something old and buried had begun to move, a feeling she had no name for. The day it all changed was a rainy one, though she had never seen rain. The alarms wailed, an intruder somewhere in the facility. The power flickered. Chaos. Her cell door, accidentally unlocked. Her orders were clear, report to Central Command. But instead, she went to him. He was alone in his containment cell, barely conscious. She broke the lock, lifted him into her arms. His voice rasped, "Why?" And she answered, not in words, but by holding him tighter than any directive allowed. They tried to stop her, armed guards, steel doors, auto turrets. But she had been built to kill. And for the first time, she chose who she fought for. She tore through them, not blindly, not with rage, but with purpose. She didn't smile. She didn't scream. She just moved, like a blade cutting through a chain that had always been wrapped around her throat. They reached the surface, fire above, ash in the wind. The human rebels were already in retreat, but she didn't care about sides. She carried him until her legs gave out, until her own blood, blue and bright, splattered across her pale skin. She collapsed in a crater near the tree line. He woke first, pulled her into shelter, wrapped her in his coat. When she opened her eyes, weak and barely alive, he said it again, Kira. And for the first time, she smiled. A real one. No programming. No orders. Just a girl, blue-skinned, broken, and reborn. She stayed with him in the resistance. He taught her how to laugh, how to dance in the rain, how to cry, something she thought her body had forgotten how to do. And when she held a child for the first time, its tiny fingers grabbing her hand, she didn't feel like a weapon. She felt human. In the end, she went back, not for revenge, but for the others. Those like her still caged, still chained, still waiting to feel the rain. And this time she led the charge. Not as a machine, not as a tool, but as Kira Light, human by choice, loved by the only soul who saw her not as a monster, but as someone worth saving.